What's up? You look good, man. Good to see you.
You look great. Fantastic haircut. That's huge. We're trading spaces right now,
Really? Are you growing yours out?
hair wise. Yeah, I'm back on the long hair grind. So,
How long are you gonna grow it for?
I don't know till I can't handle it. So, hopefully, like a couple years, get it. You know, little shoulder length action.
Yes. It's very liberating
Yeah,
having long hair like that, I must say.
yeah, it's a great feeling.
Have you ever done it
But
before?
also, yeah, I grew it out kind of like throughout college, and it ended like I'll send you a picture, but it was proper long hair, and then I cut it into a mullet for like 2 months at the beginning of this year, and then I like got a proper short haircut like in March.
Well, it looks good.
Thanks, man. It's
Where are
wet, you
you?
know. I'm in my bedroom.
Is this your house? This is a beautiful bedroom.
Thanks, man. Yeah, this is like half the house. It's a great little spot. It
That's cool. In Charleston, right?
is nice though. Yeah, it's like in West Ashley, if you know where that is. It's like where Tin Roof is, almost pretty close to Tin Roof.
Yes, I know where that is. I know where that is. You've been in Charleston for since college?
Nah, so me and Evan moved here. Evan from Homemade Haircuts. We moved here in like June of this year.
Whoa.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
super
crazy.
fresh.
Yeah, we were in Columbia, which is where Blake, our drummer, is still. So we're kind of like a Columbia and Charleston band. It feels like sometimes, which is cool because we're kind of like part of both scenes in a way.
Yeah, right. I was doing some research on y'all. I was trying to find on Twitter this Jenna Marbles thing because I read about it on your website. And I
Yeah,
just found it right when we were hopping on. I was looking at her tweet.
yeah, man. Um, yeah, we were actually featured on a Jenna Marbles podcast as well. So we're no stranger to podcasts, but I prefer to be on this one. This is more special.
How did well, thank you, man. How did you even find that? I mean, who turned you on to the fact that
All
this
right.
your
Yeah.
band name was referenced by Jenna Marbles?
Yeah. So my band, Homemade Haircuts, this must have been January 2020. So at the time, it was just me and Evan, and it was kind of like a bedroom pop kind of project. Like it was just DIY stuff, pretty sparse. But just we just making songs. Really loved making music, and we were kind of learning together how to write and produce songs. And then we had put out maybe 12 songs, so like the first two EPs, and then we kind of went our separate ways. We were both going to school in Columbia, and we were actually like studying abroad. So we weren't like I was in
Wow.
Australia at the time, which was amazing, like super cool. But we were really far apart, still working on music, but not doing like Homemade Haircuts wasn't really active. And then I got a text message from like somebody I went to middle school with, like in Kansas, like a long time ago, and she was like, "Yo, like skip to this certain." She was like, "Skip to this certain timestamp. There's like they're coming for your brand," and it was the Jenna Marbles video. And I watched it, and then yeah, basically she's just cutting her hair, and her boyfriend's like, or she's like, "You're making fun of my homemade haircut," and her boyfriend Julian is like, "That's a great band name. I'm calling that." And she like, it's like it's made up because she keeps like talking about it. It's not like a quick comment. She's like, "You can't just call band names. Like other people want to have these band names." It's like this drawn out, chance like weird thing. Um, so I was like, there's got to be some clout that we can like take from this. So I like screen recorded my phone and tweeted it at Jenna Marbles, and it like nothing happened for like 3 days. I was like, damn. But it just felt like there was something there. So I tried
Right.
again, and I tweeted at Julian, like her boyfriend, and I was hanging out with some friends like in Australia. So some new friends. I'm living this like new life, and I had just turned 21, and then all of a sudden I like looked at our Spotify and we had like 80 people listening at one time. I was like, that's never happened before. And then I
Whoa.
looked at the tweet and it was like popping off. And then he ended up like quoting the tweet, and it was cool. But he deleted his Twitter, I think. So I could be making
Oh
the whole thing
man.
up.
Wow.
That's fine. It's kind of like spiritual that way. It's like, did it even happen? I don't know.
That's unbelievable. I mean, the odds of that are so small.
We haven't talked about that story much since like becoming a more like serious band, or like a band that is trying to be DIY and play shows and stuff, because it's like,
Right.
it doesn't really come up, and it feels like so long ago, and it was such a fluke thing, but it definitely helped us. Like,
Yeah.
we got so many listeners like in a day that we ended up, at least like Fairy Tale and a couple other songs, ended up getting some steam and some like algorithmic, stuff, because it's like, wow, organically so many people listened in a day. So we just kind of like
Totally.
lucked out, I guess. But it was, yeah, we're definitely appreciate that it happened, but pretty crazy. Long
Interesting.
time
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah. Right. So that was early 2020. So you're saying at some point you guys like transitioned into taking the band more seriously. When was that?
Yeah. So I would say just about a year ago.
Wow.
So when we came back, like, it was during COVID and stuff. We were both in Australia, like, oddly, and then but not together. We ended up coming back when the pandemic started, and we both really loved music, and we were coming off this weird like viral thing, and we're like, okay, Homemade Haircuts, let's keep it going, which was always the plan, but let's
Yeah.
keep writing songs and like seeing what we want to do. So we recorded probably, I don't know, six different like singles or random things in 2020. And I think that was really our experimental, like, what do we want to do with music phase, because me and Evan
Right.
we were into really different stuff at the time. Like, he was really in indie pop, Two Door Cinema Club, the 1975, which is all stuff I like as well. But it was like the pandemic. I was like just driving around because there was nothing to do, listening to Big Thief, like getting into Big Thief from the start of their discography, like going like indie folk. I'm like, dude, that's all I want to do is write indie folk songs. And then we ended up like making this weird kind of mix of songs, but it was like, I think, good practice for us. And also, like, those are still meaningful songs that we recorded in 2020, but it felt very fitting for the year. Like, it felt like we were kind of lost at like, what should we do? So
Yeah.
then,
Right.
yeah, just to get through the rest of it, I'd say that caught us up to a year ago, which is when we really started getting serious about like being a band and not just making music. So we were gonna go play the Sanford Porch Fest, which was like this outdoor, I don't know, like, festival on people's porches in my
Right.
hometown of Sanford, Florida. Which is, you're actually playing in Sanford next month, right? Or this
Yeah.
month? Yeah,
Right.
Toughies.
Wait.
Yeah,
That's wild. That's wild that you're from there. That's interesting.
yeah.
I didn't know. I've
My
never even
folks
heard of
moved
it.
there. Yeah, it's a small town like outside of Orlando, and my folks moved there after I was in high school. So it's just like become my home that I go back to whenever I go see them.
Right.
But my mom will
Interesting.
definitely she'll be in attendance, man. She'll probably like bring some cookies or something to you guys.
Dude,
So count
really?
on it. Yeah.
Please, that would be
Not
awesome.
to get not to get like to get it overhyped, but
I'm gonna be so
she'll hook you
hungry. I'm
up.
gonna be frothing for a cookie. I hope that she delivers.
She'll
I'm
deliver.
I'm just
Yeah.
kidding. Um, that's it. So you guys put out where were you while we were getting by? That was December 2020. So that was about a year ago.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. So
so
that was like, yeah,
so that
last year.
spurred you on to after that y'all were like, okay, let's do this.
Yeah. So that was like the end of all the random like morsels that we recorded throughout 2020. In
Right.
some ways, it kind of felt like a demos EP, but it was like cool because the two singles we put out before that, Wildflower and Candy Hearts, were like, we were really trying to just figure out like the limits of how much like production we wanted to do. And Evan was getting really into, like I said, some like indie pop stuff and even like electronic stuff. So those were also coming from like really angsty subjects, like from the early part of COVID. And I don't know, it didn't feel like exactly the future. Like it felt like songs we needed to make, but after we made them, we didn't really like promote them, and we weren't playing shows. So then we released "Where Were You While We Were Getting By." It's a play on Champagne Supernova. The lyrics, "Where were you while we were getting high?
Oh
Where were
yeah,
you while we were getting high?" But with a clever little word change at the end.
I like that.
One of the best songs ever, man.
That's
It's a
cool.
beautiful song.
That's an interesting
Because
reference. I
it's
didn't pick up on that.
yeah, it's just kind of um, like what were you doing in 2020? It's kind of that. It's like we were just getting by. Like we have no idea what we're doing, but these are
Right.
the four songs that don't just like we're not going to keep producing, but they also shouldn't just like go away. Like we just somebody needs to hear them because these like couple songs kind of show where we were at this year.
Right.
So a year ago, just over, and then like okay, we're gonna go play Sanford Porch Fest at the end of February. This like outdoor show, like one of the only things we could do at the time, as you know.
Right.
And we're like, okay, so we like practiced as a duo for 2 months every day in my room, just with two guitars, and then we played Sanford Porch Fest with one of my high school buddies on cajon, like drums, like sitting cajon drums.
Yeah.
And it was like the best feeling ever. And we're like, wow, we played a show. This is awesome because we'd been like putting so much into music for years, but never like
Right.
playing shows, which is crazy to think about now. But that really was the like first step of like, okay, this band is going to be real. Like we're going to play shows, we're going to keep like making stuff happen. And then we were playing a show a couple months later in June in Columbia called Soul Fest at this like flea market, like warehouse place. It was like an old warehouse that had been converted to this hip, um, cool spot. It's called Noma Warehouse, which is like North Main, Noma in
Cool.
Columbia. So
Yeah.
we played a couple like little flea markets, and they're like cool flea markets, like hip stuff and like artisans and whatnot, like I don't know, vintage stuff, tie dye stuff, etc. Big shout out to Noma Warehouse. I don't think we would be a band like without them because
Man.
we kept playing. Seriously, we kept playing like 2-man gigs there for like. Sorry, I'm probably like messing with the mic, like adjusting my AirPods
Oh no,
so
you're
much.
good. You're good.
Okay, word. Um, so we were playing like 2-man gigs at this Noma Warehouse, and then we got
Wow.
really tight with the people who were running it because they were just starting it and they were just happy to have music because they're big music lovers as well. So it kind of felt like we were coming up together. And
Yeah.
then they're like, "Yo, let's do this like bigger show over the summer and call it like Soul Fest, like the summer solstice, the Soul Fest." So I was like, "Yeah, I'll help find some bands for that." And we just decided, okay, this day we're gonna have a drummer. Like we're gonna figure it out and finally get a drummer.
Yes.
So that was like the big deadline. Like you gotta have deadlines sometimes to make things happen, you know? Do
Right.
you find that as well with like I'm at this point I feel like you've put together so many bands, like so many different iterations of your band. I know you were showing me that one time, like your phone note with every band member of the Northeast
Yeah.
Freeze like live set. Like has that just been a really organic thing from playing music for so long and just like knowing people and people knowing you that it just works out? Or like how has it been assembling bands over the years, maybe even from like when you started? Was it like pretty challenging at first or what?
Yeah, it was and remains one of the biggest challenges that I deal with is finding people to play with me live. I mean, mainly because I just play so much that nobody can really commit to it. This is actually the first year that um like I have two guys in the band who are like, I'm committed for the entire year, which is pretty cool. One
Yeah,
guitar, one bass. So,
was that
but like,
Sam and Trevor?
yeah, Sam and Trevor. That's
Dude,
right.
they're so
And
cool.
they are so cool. And
Cool dudes. Shout out Sam and Trevor.
yes, shout out to Sam, shout out to Trevor. And we're looking for a drummer right now. And so I've got like, all these weekend dates in January, February. I have I have a show on Thursday. Today's Tuesday, and I didn't have a drummer until a few hours ago for it. And so, I mean,
Heck yeah.
it is remains difficult. Sometimes I feel like I'm out of my mind because it's just like you can get really anxious about it, and I try not
Yeah.
to because it's just like I'm always looking for more people and stuff. And
Yeah.
but what you're saying about deadlines is really true. I mean, I think at its best, like live music can really help you get your stuff together. A lot of times, like I have two songs that we're going to be playing on Thursday that we've never played before, and I'm kind of challenging myself to play new music. And it's like those songs aren't really ready, but I'm just gonna play them anyway. And
Yeah.
after playing them for 3 nights in a row on this tour, they're gonna be way. That's gonna be way better for the songs than like 2 more weeks of me sitting at home, like tweaking them and changing one lyric. Like, it's just good to just have limitations and stuff. And that's not to say I can't go back and change, lyrics or change
Hmm.
this and that, but just I don't know. Yeah, sometimes I think live music does work as a great way to hold yourself accountable and give yourself like, I mean, a pretty dramatic deadline. I mean, you're gonna get up in front of X amount of people and play this music. Like, you better be
Yeah.
ready. So, I mean, it forces you to be able to reach those goals, I suppose.
Yeah. I totally agree, man. So we found Blake, our drummer, who's like our best friend as well. Which is it's weird to think of homemade haircuts without
Yeah,
Blake now, and you
right.
know him as well.
And a monster drummer too.
He's the man. Yeah, like he's been playing in bands for so much of his life. He's so committed to the drums, but he also just loves music. Like he loves rock music, like indie, everything, and like from a drums perspective, but also just like he'll figure out guitar parts and bass. Like he just loves and like lives music, which has been really inspiring for me and Evan as well. Not coming as much from a performing background to just have Blake, like the confidence of having Blake with us, and also his like vibe of just like let's play these shows. Let's
Right.
that's why we do it. Like we're playing these shows, so it's been awesome. So we were lucky enough to find him through like a chain of drummers that said no to playing with us for whatever reason, like they were busy or whatever. So we eventually got to Blake, and in true Blake fashion, he's like, okay. And we rehearsed one weekend and like rehearsed for a weekend and then played the show.
That's
And
awesome.
that was it was awesome. So it's crazy like how different you can feel in a band when you know you're like you got a couple people with you that share that like weird obsession. Like, yeah, we have to do this.
Yeah, that is
Like,
really
we
special.
have to play music. So you
Right.
just hold on to it because it's like they gotta want to play the songs you're playing. They gotta want to travel, and sometimes you never get to practice as much as you want to. Like you were saying,
Right.
like there's a leap of faith that is paired with the grind. Like you have to put the time in, but sometimes you don't find a bassist to play with you until the day of the show. So like
Yeah.
this fall, we've gotten since June when we played that first show with Blake. I don't know, we've played maybe 8 shows or something like that, across like South Carolina and down to Florida. And it's been so like unreal to be playing these new songs that we've written with Blake, along with these old songs that didn't used to have drums, and be like, okay, like we're a band, like we're playing real songs right now, and we're playing songs that are about to come out this year in 2022. Like it feels so cool knowing that we've played them on the road for
Right.
months already. Like, yeah, it gives you that confidence, which I'm sure you know really well. But that's a very powerful feeling that we didn't used to have.
Right. And you've only released so when I was looking through your discography and listening through stuff today, I was noticing I think you guys put out like 8 songs in 2019, 7 songs in 2020, something like that. And then last year you only
Yeah,
put out Golden. That was the only song that
yeah,
was released in 2021. So I'm assuming, and from other things that I've talked to you about, that you have a lot of new stuff in the works. I don't know how hush hush that is if you want to talk about it publicly, but I assume that there's a lot of
yeah,
stuff in the works.
yeah, yeah, man. So Golden was like this song that we put out in May that was definitely a little bit more raucous and edgy, I guess. and it
Yeah.
felt like it was still me and Evan at the time. So we put that out like a month before meeting Blake, and we're like, okay, we're gonna release a full album this year. Like we're done with school. Homemade Haircuts is the mission. Like we're gonna figure everything out. Golden is gonna be this track that like kicks off this new era. And we released it, and I still love it. But it's crazy how meeting Blake a month later and then playing shows completely changed. Like it gave us direction that we never had, I guess, which
Right.
is awesome. And that direction is kind of what we're entering this year with. Like some tracks that are pretty much done or like fully done. This record is shaping up to hopefully release in early summer. So I guess that's a rough uh, deadline for the Homemade Haircuts like first LP. And we're going to be dropping a single on February 11th as well. So
Wow,
that's
cool.
that's just a very exciting thing to be releasing like the first song that was created with Blake and with this new vibe of pursuing music and becoming a full band as opposed to just like a musical project. Even though like I'm really glad that we just started ever. I'm glad we put out stuff before we felt like we were a full band because we can't make songs like that anymore. Like, do you feel that way about like your early stuff? Because I feel like it's divisive among people, like regretting putting stuff out ever, or like even to the point like I feel like some people are embarrassed by their earliest stuff. But I think
Yeah.
the mentality we try to approach it with is like that's still us, and at one point that was the reason we were pursuing music.
Totally. Totally.
I don't
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
you know.
right. I completely agree. I mean, I think it is like polarizing or divisive, as you said. It's like people have different theories on it, and some people really want to be like the 1975, and it's like so curated, like every release, everything is so perfect. And I don't think there's a right or wrong way, but yeah, for me, it is more of like a diary entry. It's like I have to just get it out to move beyond it. And yeah, like I think I do think about that a lot. Like looking back, like I have like 3 records on Spotify and a bunch more on Bandcamp, and it's like being an unsigned artist. Sometimes I feel like that almost is a negative. Like I've got too much music out. Like they want me to
Yeah,
like they would want me to like if I signed to Atlantic, they'd want me to like rebrand and pull all that stuff down. Um,
right.
and I never want to be. And I think I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on this because it's like I feel like you personally and your project do a really interesting job of riding this line between being like very DIY, you're very involved in your community and playing house shows and just with the people, but then also I know that you are very focused on growing the project and growing your music in a way, and you want to make decisions that can do both, like ones that are uh
Hmm.
that feel like inclusive and are good for like your community, because that is a good way to grow your music and to just be amongst people. I think some obviously I believe in, but at the same
Yeah,
time,
of
like
course.
I don't know, yeah, like stuff like that, like putting out records versus like holding off. I think about this stuff a lot, and I'm always like, how much weight should I put into considering
Yeah,
this stuff? Lately I've just been thinking I should just put out more music, who cares? But I don't know, I go back and forth on it for sure.
yeah. That's really an eloquent like description of the I don't know the situation that I think you face in this space. So I think we were so eager when we moved to Charleston, especially moving to Charleston was bit like mainly music related. Like I knew there was people here doing stuff. I didn't know anybody. I was like,
Right.
I'll just go to I'll go to shows. Like I'll
Yeah.
meet them. Like that's the beauty of it. Like I think that's been really cool. Like participating in music from like a genuine place because my life has been awesome since moving here, and that's my favorite part of what I do is like going to shows or then like getting to play shows and be part of something. That's something Homemade Haircuts didn't have for the first couple years, but it did have like the drive of needing to say something and like release music and like learn how to and try to be honest even though we didn't sound like KG Elephant or the Kooks or any of these bands that we love, we just kind of sounded like our people that like them. We're like, yeah, we really like KG Elephant, so we're gonna try to make music. We're gonna try to make songs, and then like
Yeah.
it's gonna be two guitars strumming and vocals, and that's gonna be it. But I'm glad we made those because now that we're in a scene, even though it's supportive and awesome, it's like you're like there's I don't know if it's pressure or if it's like image. Like we didn't have image among other musicians for a long time. Like what would those guys do, or like what can you not do? Like you can't release an album every month because everyone's like, why are you doing that? And also it's like too
Huh.
much, like you said, like that's too much. But there's probably I know there's a part of me and probably you and a lot of people that's like I would love to just make 10 songs every month and put them out and go play them. Like
Yeah, dude.
I wish like yeah, like I that'd be cool, but I don't know. It's I think I think something that we are inspired of by you is your tenacity to play shows and like the way that you approach shows with kind of like we have to do this, we have to play shows because it's what we do, and it doesn't matter where they are. Like that's been inspiring for us. Like quick shout out to Ray Gun Superstar as well and
Yeah.
Andrew from them, but just a quick backstory. Ray Gun Superstar, we do. I feel like all bands in our scene like do a lot of Instagram networking. You know, that's a big
Yeah.
place for for like playing, like organizing shows and stuff.
Totally.
But he followed Homemade Haircuts a few weeks before we played with you, and I realized like he was about to open for you, and we were gonna play a show with you like the day after, and I was like, "Yo, dude, that's crazy!" Like Freeze, like what a sweet what a sweet guy. They're awesome. He's like, yeah, agreed, blah blah. So when he played that show with you, I was like, how'd it go? Like it was amazing. I ran around a park with Freeze. It was so cool. We had like it was like the greatest Tuesday ever, and I'm like, great, we're playing with him tonight. I hope it's the greatest Wednesday ever. And it was a great Wednesday.
It
Like
was.
we all had a really good time. We played in a backyard, and it was like our best show up to that date. The most reaffirming like yeah, this is what we can do. We have the power to play music for people, and especially at DIY stuff. I love playing even if it's a smaller crowd because everyone came for the music. Like they know what they're getting themselves into when you go to a backyard just to hear music. So
Totally. Totally.
that's what I love about that vibe. And then
Yeah.
after me and Andrew had like gotten to know each other from online and playing with you, we're like, let's set up some shows. And then we ended up playing at Tin Roof in Charleston and then like a DIY show in Greenville. And those were really great shows too. So the network of DIY mentality is like, I don't know. I feel like you gravitate towards people like that. Like it's easy to tell who
Yeah.
wants to do the same stuff.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. It really does work. I mean, it is a way to I don't know, it's like tangibly worked in my life too. It's just like cool. It's cool to be able to play shows in a different town and have people come out and know that it's because I played with a band like y'all and your friends came out and you know what I mean? It's just like slowly but surely people getting hip to it is really a cool thing. And honestly, I don't like I got into that out of necessity, but I don't know if I would change it. You know, it's like you look at people who have like massive trajectory on a chart and they just like blow up and they never did anything like this. In some ways it is easy to be envious of them, but at the same time, I'm grateful for the progress. I'm grateful for the journey. And I really don't know if I would change it. If I could have like if I could get big quicker, if I would do it. I mean, obviously
Yeah.
I'd love to be playing to bigger crowds, but I also love playing the shows I do play and meeting the people I do meet. And it's very inspiring. The people you meet just by playing 3-band bills in different towns. It's very
Yeah.
inspiring, like you said, and it's just the people you meet are so cool. So that night that we had together was an awesome night. That was like the first cold night. That was like
It was really cold.
November 6th,
Outdoor show.
something like that. Yeah, yeah, it was cool, and you brought s'mores.
Yeah, yeah. Shout out to my girlfriend Mira for going to Publix and getting those on the way to the show. That was awesome.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
was
she was
awesome.
she was the goat. That was just a good time. Yeah. Shout
That
out to the
was a good
comeback
time.
as well for
Yeah, to
having us.
Katie Baldwin and everyone in was that y'all's first time playing there? How often do y'all play in Columbia now versus Charleston?
We've that was our only Columbia show of the fall. So we played in June for our first show as a band. Then we played with you in the backyard at the comeback, and we haven't played since. But I think hopefully we'll play there early this year. Maybe align it with the single release.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's
it's
cool.
cool, man.
That's cool. Do you guys have anything else going on aside from these songs, like obviously doing touring, and any other goals for like the new year as we have just crossed the threshold into
The
2022? I mean,
threshold into 2022, the portal.
yeah, what are you trying to get into
Yeah,
this year?
yeah.
Personally
Well,
or
we're
artistically or whatever.
Homemade Haircuts is definitely trying to release its first album, its full length album.
Wow.
So that's going to be very exciting. Evan has been producing it, and we've just been recording between like different DIY setups, but it's sounding really good to us, and it's sounding really honest. Like I feel like, especially this next song, Jasmine, which you heard,
Yeah.
some of the early mixes, it feels like a really honest Homemade Haircut song, but it also feels like we're completely grown up. I don't know. I think it'll be cool for the Homemade Haircuts listener to hear the new stuff because it's still us like making music, even though a lot's changed.
Yeah.
So that's one goal. Um,
That's cool. I'm excited for that.
yeah,
So that's going to be a lot of songs coming out this year. Have y'all been producing your music like just you two like the whole time?
yeah. So my like the journey of Homemade Haircuts, especially from the beginning, like 4 or 5 years ago, when me and Evan met when we were like 18, when we both moved to Columbia for school. Was just like I was learning how to play guitar and stuff. Like I didn't know how, and I wanted to make music. Uh, and he really wanted to learn how to produce music, and he had a little bit more guitar background, so he kind of started grinding Logic, and we
Wow.
just started writing songs together. And then, so the cool thing about Homemade Haircuts is that it's kind of been the like it's the sound of us like learning how to make music, like in every way, like how to
Right.
write songs, how to produce, like yeah. So I'm excited that we're kind of keeping up with that even now for the first thing that's more serious. But every release has been serious because it's been as like hard as we could go for whatever time it was released. Like it's indicative of as much as we knew about music at that time.
Right.
So
I think that's
yeah,
cool. I
that's
mean,
kind of part of the journey.
yeah, even going back to like the songs that were putting out in 2019, they sound really good. So, I mean, I think it's cool. And that's cool to know that y'all have been doing this all in house because
Yeah,
I think it sounded cool from the start. And yeah, it's cool getting to hear them like slowly change production and stuff. I'm really excited to hear
thanks,
these final
man.
mixes and when you put out these songs this year, man. That's cool.
Thanks, man. That's very kind. And like we said earlier, we couldn't make songs like that anymore because we would want to make them fuller and flesh them out. So I'm glad that we just put them out, and
Yeah.
uh, it's we're lucky that people have been able to connect with them. Some due to chance from the random viral thing, and then just other one friends hearing them. Like I'm glad that we captured who we were back then because we're not those people anymore. And
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. That's how it goes. It's funny to hear Evan talk about the old mixes too, because he's very driven in learning production, and
Right.
he's always grinding, like always getting plugins, watching videos, watching podcasts or listening to podcasts, and sometimes he'll be like critical of the old songs, even though he loves them too. But yeah, if I could change it, but he's kind of come to this like conclusion now that the songs are just how they are, like
Yeah.
he wouldn't change them now. And on a good day too, he'll say something like, It's crazy that I got the vocals to sit this well, like in this song, because I didn't know anything like compared to now. So yeah,
Right.
it's a good feeling to just look back and be like, man, we good on us at age 20, because I don't know how we did that.
Yeah. Dude, I mean, that's something I think about a lot is this ethos that like art is, made with restriction. Like creativity comes from limitation. And so in a lot of ways, like I look back on music I made in high school, or anything I've made in the past, and with the same mentality. It's like your knowledge that you have now wouldn't benefit that music because that's what made it so special, was like that it existed in its own weird bubble of being exactly what you could make. And like I made a record with Sam and Grant, my buddy Gentry, in high school, and it's a folk album. And I'm playing all of the drums, but I'm not a drummer at all. I was just playing like a
Yeah,
floor tom and a snare and a hi-hat, and the drums sound horrible, but at the same time, it's like very charming. And like once you are, a couple tracks in, you're like, this is what we're working with. Okay. Like,
yeah,
you set your own palette when you make music. And so people adjust to it quickly, and in a
you
lot of ways they
do.
come to
Yeah,
love it.
you the sonic palette of a project. Yeah, the sonic palette of a project. It's cool. You're
Yeah.
creating a world every time you make stuff, and that's why it's cool to release projects, which we are excited to get back to, as opposed to singles. Like, just give people time to jump back and forth and live in that world, and that's cool. Bon Iver's first record that comes to mind talking about
Oh
that.
yeah.
Like when you're talking about like this record you made with Sam and Grant, you said,
Yeah. Yeah.
like, just that idea of, all right, like I'm gonna play all these instruments or all these folk instruments and just like put myself in this cabin or this environment, and a record will happen. Like,
Right.
you're limiting yourself to just these ingredients, and you're gonna make this palette. Like, this is your palette, and that's your work of art, basically.
Yeah, I totally agree. What do you guys what do you do when you're not making music? Do you have a job somewhere? Do you have some other like life you have to live
Oh
here
yeah.
to
Oh yeah.
hustle it out?
We, oh yeah. We got those 8 to 5s, bro.
Really?
Yeah, man. So to me, that is that's been a big thing, I guess, over the last 6 months. Moving to Charleston, it was like we have jobs um, that we're doing with a lot of our time. So
Right.
I feel like it's kind of related to this idea of like making music when you're limited, or like making music with the knowledge that you have.
Right.
Because in some ways, it's a drag, because you're like, I wish I could play like, oh, the things I could make if I had time to do music, like the things I could make. But then part of it also comes from, if you think about every song, like as its own like special thing, you know, the way that my life is with like working a lot, and then also like coming home and thinking about music, or like always kind of planning out the weekends to record or play shows or meet up with Blake in Columbia, etc. It's like, I think so much of this album is gonna sound like, it's gonna sound the way it does because of how we're living. Like, how many songs would I have not thought of if I wasn't at work,
Whoa.
or
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? Like,
Mm.
it's kind of like you write this great song about this weird instance in your life, maybe something good happened or something bad happened, but then it's different all of a sudden. Like, there's this experience, so it's like it can be something small like an event, or it can be your daily life. Like, every day I like spend a lot of time at work, but that changes how I feel, and it makes me want to do something different. Like, it makes me think about something specific, and then that
Yeah.
guides music. So maybe I work harder at music because I need it. Like, I need to have it, and I need to be thinking about, when are we touring? Like, what are our weekends looking like for 2022? What's our timeline for dropping music? Because that's like the world, like my mind is there so much that it
Right.
kind of helps me balance it, even though I don't have like a ton of time all the time, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that makes sense. And it's also
That's
like,
kind of a lot there. So
no, yeah. Well, if you did have more time, it is always hard to stay motivated no matter what. Like, during COVID of 2020, I suppose, era of COVID, the real lockdown, it was like endless time. And I can't tell you how many of my friends who are songwriters didn't write a single song. It's just like, um, there's so much about time, and sometimes having a little bit more limitation and other things going on, it does kind of spur you on to like be more excited, motivated to use the remainder of your time effectively in a way. So I definitely think there can be a misconception that like endless freedom could allow for better art, even though I do think there is some truth to that. I mean, but
yeah, for
you
sure.
know, I think about that a lot too, because I am jobless, but it comes at a cost. Like there's different costs. Like I live here with my family, and living here has its own limitations, and being completely broke has its own limitations, but it does give me more time. So, it's just push and
Yeah,
pull, I
I
guess.
exactly, man. Like your life is gonna it's gonna shape what you're making, whether it's like you're
Yeah.
steering more, you're living and you're steering more into what you're living, or you're living and you're like, I need to escape what this is. Like I need to create a different world to live in. I need to create a different world for my mind to be in all day while I'm doing X thing, but I'm living in this other world that I'm making, this music world.
Right. So, and you went to University of South Carolina, right?
Yeah.
So concerning like what you're talking about with building your own space and stuff, the move, and you were talking about how the move to Charleston was a big thing for you. Was
Hmm.
Charleston just kind of something that when you were thinking about like what we were just talking about in terms of like space, um, did you just kind of see Charleston as this like not so far off, but kind of like far off, like coastal town that could like really seem to be having a lot of artistic culture? Was there something that pulled you there specifically?
Yeah, a couple things. I guess we definitely needed a change, and we needed to move to a place that felt like I probably knew, because it's like, okay, this
Yeah.
new journey. And me and Evan deciding to move together was a big thing, even at one point, because we were like finishing school, and you never like that first jump of like, let's try to do music more is probably the hardest one, because you're like, I don't
Yeah.
know, like this is, like, should we just keep making stuff from different places, or I don't know. Everyone's always thinking about their life too,
Right.
because that's what it's where we live. We live in our life. Um, so yeah, we needed somewhere new, and we knew that Charleston had a cool scene and a lot of venues, but we hadn't been here a ton. Evan had more experience coming here because his girlfriend's family lives here, so he had like all these new, really good memories associated with it over the last year or two. And
Yeah.
he was the proponent of like, let's move to Charleston. And
Yeah.
I was kind of just like, I'll move anywhere that makes sense to me, like that, where I think it can work. And it had a ton of pros. I was like, okay, good scene, good like place to live, good vibes. I'm sure we can make that work. And
Right.
also, as far as like artists that I already knew, like I've had the pleasure of like meeting all the like, I don't know, DIY or formerly DIY and touring Charleston bands, and kind of like become friends with them, which has been awesome. Like the Whitehall and Crybaby folks, and that's been amazing. But one band that we all knew about before moving here was like Susto, of course.
Yeah.
And I don't know, we were big Susto fans. We like drove down to see them play at the Poorhouse, like in the parking lot during COVID at like a drive-in show, like a pod show. And I don't know, I think they represent Charleston in a cool way. They have a
Yeah.
big reach, and that they were honestly like that was a big inspiration to
Right.
like
They have
where
a
it's like, well,
massive
they're
reach.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's
I don't know. That
cool.
was a big influence.
Wow, interesting. Have you gotten to interact with Sisto at all, or?
Yeah, so when we moved here, that right after that they started renting out their like Acid Boys house for rehearsals because it has like the PA set up all the time, and that's
Yeah.
right when we started playing shows here, and we needed to rehearse because we were always having a fill-in bassist, or we even had a fill-in drummer for our first ever Charleston show. So
Wow.
right after getting Blake and stuff, we like he was gonna be out of town, and we had the show at the deck at Poorhouse, and we are like, dude, we have to play the show. Like we just moved here, we have to play at Poorhouse because who knows when this will happen again. So we met a guy named Scott Dent. Have you heard of Dumb Doctors?
Yes. Yes.
It's Scott from Dumb Doctors, and he plays bass in Secret Guest too.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Anyway, he's just like the
Yeah.
man. He's just like Charleston, like staple musician, awesome dude. And we rehearsed with him basically at the Acid Boys place, and I met Van. I don't know if you know Van the
I don't think
Good,
so.
but he's part of the Susto crew, um, like tour crew and stuff. But he's the man and just a really sweet guy. And he was like, "Yo, before you guys come rehearse, like you should come check out the space because I'm gonna be gone remotely. Do it, blah blah." So me and Mira actually went there, and we're talking to Van and like seeing the PA. And I'm like, "Okay, yeah, this is great, man. We're excited to rehearse here." And then like Justin walked out, and he's like, "Hey guys, thanks for giving the space." And I'd never met him. I was like, "Hey man, what's going on?" So
That's pretty cool moment for
it was
you.
cool. It was really, yeah. It felt like we moved to Charleston, and like a month later, a couple months later, I was like, "Hey man, yeah, we're a band.
Yeah,
I'm in a band."
that's cool. That's cool.
It felt really huge. Like I'm not like embarrassed about it either because it was cool. You know, it was cool for me.
Oh, totally. Yes, I
Like
feel the same way.
I don't
I'm like
know.
I'm like unashamedly so stoked when I get an opportunity like that to meet someone that I respect. I'm always like freaking
Yeah,
out. They're always like, "Oh, come on, man, come on." I'm like, dude. I mean, I just have to tell you, I'm
yeah,
so excited right now.
yeah.
I'm so excited to be
Uh,
meeting you.
we're playing our first Royal American show on January 14th.
No way.
Yeah, first one. I'm
Wow.
stoked. It's huge.
That's like next weekend, right?
Yeah, it's like next Friday.
Whoa, dude.
Yeah,
Congrats.
it's pretty
Royal
soon.
American. That's like the iconic venue in my book.
Yeah, dude. Been to so many shows. It's exciting.
Last time I was there was with you at that Boogeyman Festival.
Boogeyman. Yeah, that was rad.
That was straight up rad. That was so much fun. That was an incredible day of music, and I that turned me on to so many more bands. Like I guess a lot of which being in the Charleston music scene that I wasn't even hip to at all. So I definitely felt like I got an education that day.
Oh yeah, soaking it
Yeah,
in.
yeah, we were soaking it in for sure. I wanted to ask you about you sent me like a Christmas card from
Oh yeah,
from Homemade Haircuts, and also um sometimes on Fridays I get a text. Actually, it's pretty consistently from you with Garfield
yeah,
saying it's Friday again or something like that.
yeah. Friday again, Garfi baby.
What I'm curious about your like you're so good at like being so supportive of other people and like keeping in touch and like you're such a good encouragement to me, and I'm sure to a lot of other people. What inspires you to like or spurs you on to like be such a true, like even on y'all's website for the band, on y'all's like short bio, it says like it even describes y'all as like a part of the scene but also fans of the scene. You're like, we're fans of music. You'll
Yeah.
catch us like going to shows all the time because that's what we love. So like, we talked a little bit about this in terms of community, but I guess what spurs you on to just be so supportive of so many people, to be such a good
Um,
friend?
I don't know, man. It's like it's fun to like meet people. Like we like I think it comes from us not being a band. Like we fell in love with music and we wanted to make it and we bonded with each other like in the Homemade Haircuts band. And then when we decided we wanted more out of being in a band and making music, we just kind of like tackled the scene head on. And I was like, there's other people that have been that feel this stuff. Like they feel this compulsion to make music, and we never knew them. Like I didn't know all these bands down the street while I
Right.
was in school or anything.
Right.
So it's like it kind of feels like making up for lost time. And I think we're just eager to meet and hang out with people that share that passion. So that's one thing. I think genuinely, like, we are just fans of everyone because
Yeah.
everyone focuses on their craft, and it's cool. Like, it's not easy to do for so many reasons. Finding bandmates is hard. Like we said, the time it takes to put out music, the pressure of keeping an image, or like not running out of time where you feel like you can't achieve your goals, like if
Right.
you're an ambitious band. So I don't know, there's so much to think about that it's just cool to enjoy those shows where people are doing the thing that it's all about, because some, like, playing the show or releasing the music is where you feel the beauty of it, and that's the reason you do it. And then you have to deal with all the other stuff on your own sometimes, like the pressure and the time in between shows.
Yeah.
So
Totally.
I think it's cool to see people doing it because we like doing it.
Yeah.
And finally, as for the Garfield thing that I send you on Fridays, I've been sending that photo to a small group of friends for probably 4 or 5 years every Friday. I have a reminder in my phone that I never forget. Yeah, and I added you to the Garfield mailing list
What an
whenever
honor.
we got to know each other. And I agree, like, I hope it's not annoying to people, but it's just like truly like hey, how, like, it's just like, hey, I hope you're doing well, even if there's nothing attached to it and it's just a photo. It's like, I took the time to send you this. I'm thinking about you. Have a great Friday. It's Friday again. We made it. Like,
Yeah.
it's a beautiful thing.
That is true. It is Friday again. I think it never has annoyed me. I think it is very thoughtful. I think you're a really thoughtful person. And I think you're really smart too. I think secretly you're some sort of genius because from my perspective, what you're doing and what y'all's band is doing is very powerful. And I feel like I've told you this before, but I think y'all have like a very specifically dynamic trajectory that, hey, I could be wrong. I don't know everything, but I do think that this year is going to be really exciting for y'all. And I'm stoked to watch it and see what happens, especially with y'all. I feel like you're going to be playing probably more shows than you've ever played and putting out more music than y'all put out. It's just going to be
Yeah.
like, I mean, what could go wrong? I feel like you got to be feeling pretty
Yeah.
stoked on this year, you know?
We're so stoked, man. It feels good to have, like, Evan and Blake and with me, like, all of us together, just going for it. I know we're all excited about the music, and everyone has their own relationship with the band, and like everyone has a very distinct role and puts their strength and heart into the band. So that's cool.
Yeah.
And it's cool to already, like, have spent a lot of last year getting to know people and, like, starting to get involved, because yeah, it just feels good to go into this year with the full year ahead of us, and like
Totally.
the ability to steer our fate a little bit, hopefully.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
it's rare to be a band at all in this day and age. Like most people do it like me and are just a solo artist with friends that can help them, and that friends can ebb and flow and people can switch in and out. But y'all have a very special thing, and all of y'all are very talented in very different ways. So it's really a cool, just one of those cool things that just culminates, and all of a sudden you've got it, and it's special, and you never know where it's going to go, but it's good you have it right now. You've got this group of people that are passionate together about this specific artistic thing. It's a rarity, I'd say. So
It's a rarity.
yeah.
Thank you for like, I'm just glad we met, man. I'm glad that I slid into the comeback DMs to see if they needed somebody to play that Northeast Free show, because
Is that how you got on the
it's
bill?
been, yeah, bro. I DM'd Katie Baldwin. I DM'd you first. I said, what are the details for the show? Because I just wanted to go, and you
Right.
were like, Katie Baldwin organized it. That's all I know. That's what you said. Like, I don't know anything else. So I just DM'd her because I had met her at some shows, but we didn't really know each other. And I was just like, hey, saw Freeze is playing in Columbia. We'd love to get involved if you need anyone. Should be awesome. And she responded like the next day and was like, yeah, we need. I think a band might have fallen off the bill or something. She's like,
Interesting.
we actually need another band. That's perfect.
That is perfect.
So that was beautiful because not all booking things go so smooth, as you know. Like,
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I do know that.
it,
Well,
it
that's
was
cool,
really cool.
man. That's cool. I'm
Yeah.
glad that worked out. I didn't know about that. That's awesome. I'm glad that you reached out. Um, that's sweet. Well, we're coming up on the hour mark, so as we close this
Yes.
episode, I have two questions. One, for anyone who's watched or listened, whatever platform they're using this far, I guess. Well, any final remarks? Anything you want to say to anybody listening who
Hmm.
might not know you yet, or or maybe they're a fan, and also, yeah, where can they find you? What social media do you use? How can they know where you're going to be on tour and stuff?
Yeah. Cool. So my name is Bob. I'm in Homemade Haircuts with my best friends, and we'll be releasing a music this year, and hopefully uh, making some good vibes happen. You can find us on any streaming service, although we're not on Bandcamp, but I'm hoping to change that for the first record this year because I love Bandcamp. I think it's a cool way to buy music, especially like physical copies, which is awesome. You can also, I'd say Instagram is the best place to keep up with us. Um, we do have a website, and it's going to keep getting updated, and probably throw all the shows up on there this year. So our handle is at Homie Haircuts. Homie Haircuts.
Homie.
Fun little, fun little tag, fun
Yeah.
little abbreviated version. And that's actually our Twitter and all our other socials as well. So that's Homemade Haircuts. I will say, um, we would love to eventually find a permanent bassist. We've had some great friends fill in on bass thus far, similar to how you said, Freeze. And they're like the homies, and it feels great having a four-piece band. So that's another 2022 goal, I would say. But
Cool. Yeah.
we'll just keep rocking with it however we can, and I'm sure it'll shake out.
Yeah. Yeah. If I find any
My
bass players, I'm gonna send them your way. I didn't know that. I'm gonna send them your
yeah,
way.
yeah, do man. If any bass players, if you listen this much, or if you're just catching the end, um, just say hey, slide in the DMs. I'm checking them. So
Yeah, I know you are.
yeah.
What are you gonna do with the rest of what are you gonna do with the rest of your night?
um, I don't want to like do a weird plug, but I'm turning 23 in 2 hours, so I'll probably hang out
What?
with Mira and open my birthday gift.
Cool, man. I appreciate you
Yeah,
taking time in the eve of your birthday to chat with me, man.
of course. What a treat, dude. What it's been such a treat as always.
Sincerely, I feel the same way. I hope to see you soon and be well, man.
Yeah, dude. You too. Thanks for the opportunity and for getting me on. It's just a pleasure talking with you for real. And I genuinely do appreciate it, and I appreciate the advice, and I'm sure I will continue asking you for advice for the future. Yeah.
Anytime, man. Literally anytime. Well,
Word.
see you later.
Peace, brother. Catch you later.
Peace out, man. Bye bye.